Good evening, and welcome to another episode of The Horror Vision Presents Elements of Horror. I am the astounding Anthony,
I'm John.
I'm Missy.
And I'm Ray.
and have we got a treat for you this evening? Travel with us all the way back to the year 2000. There's a song about that. In the year 2000. You guys remember that one?
2000,
In the
in the
year
year
2000. We're
2000.
about to get sued, everybody. So tonight is Ray's pick, and it is a sensational film. It's one that's definitely left a mark on me, and by a director who is very well esteemed and well regarded by a lot of his fans. Uh, John Ray, myself, had the recent, wonderful pleasure of having an evening over at Vidiot's and being able to watch his film, The Fall, which was it could bring you to tears. Um,
Yes, it's a beautiful film.
There's nothing else like it.
Definitely not. Definitely not. And
Yeah,
what a pleasure to see it on 4K on a big screen. It was incredible. Ray,
yes.
please introduce Tarsem Singh's The Cell. Let us know about the film. Tell us why you chose the film.
Well, I chose this movie because before I was a horror fan, I had seen this movie. Unlike the rest of you, I didn't grow up kind of watching horror. I saw things here and there. And until Sean asked me to come on this podcast, I didn't really start watching it all the time and like checking out new things. So this was a movie I saw in the theater with friends when it came out. Um, and I didn't know the elements of horror that were in it. To me, it was just looked really cool. It was Tarsem, which drew me to the theater more so than like any of the cast. I have a question about that later, and you guys, how you guys feel about that. But it's such an interesting film. It's got this sci-fi quality. It's got a horror quality. It's like a it's it's a police procedural and it just is so interesting. The visuals are fantastic, and it just kind of defies characterization as a regular genre film. And I just remembered enjoying it so much and just also at the same time like being horrified by it. I recently got a chance. They showed it here in LA at a theater here, and I got to see it on the big screen about a week ago. Well, less than a week ago. And it was on film stock. I think it was on 75 millimeter. And you could see the pops and the whistles in the screen, and it was a great experience. And I sat there, and the funny thing was I remember the film, but I guess I had forgotten like the minute details. And I sat there in the theater and I was worrying about parts that were coming up because I forgot about how dark and disturbing some of the stuff was. And I sat there going, oh no, this is coming. And I couldn't remember exactly how bad it was and how like kind of terrifying some of the stuff was going to be. And I was like kind of sitting there like worried. And yeah, it is a great film theater experience again to see it. But yeah, that's kind of the reason I picked it. I'd be interested to know how everyone else came, the first time anyone else came to all the rest of you came to this movie.
Absolutely. Just real quick, I want to say for the listeners, this will be a full spoiler review of the film. So
Yeah.
if you haven't seen the film, I highly encourage you to go back and watch that and most of Tarzan's filmography in general. Like you need to go back and watch that stuff just because it's incredible and doesn't get noticed enough. But again, yes, full spoilers. And John, why don't you take us through that first experience of the cell for you?
I realized when I was watching it recently that I've only seen this film once, and I thought I've seen it way more. The Fall I've seen several times, so it's like it's always fresh in my mind. But for some reason, it's like maybe I caught snippets of it here and there on HBO, whatever. I saw it in the theater when it came out, and I, I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but I was so dazzled by its imagery. And when I was going into this viewing, I thought to myself, okay, I used to maybe think of this as a dress rehearsal for the fall in many ways. And then I look at this film and I just think to myself, okay, his starting point must have been, what if Jean Cocteau smoked crack? This is like just the incredible surreal imagery, in so many ways is kind of a little bit more inventive than parts of the fall is just way better overall. Uh, and that's where I think the movie worked with me the most. I think everything else this time around, probably back then when I first saw it, it just, it's like, especially as a serial killer film, it feels confused and unfocused. But just, the gorgeous use of color, just very similar to Jodorowsky. Um, and just some of the images just sort of stay with you for a while. And I'm just kind of curious also, like, apart from everyone's first experience, what image this time around just stayed with them? I've got mine.
I've got one as well, definitely.
Oh
But
yeah.
Me
before
too.
that, before we get to that, Missy, Madam Missy, we would love to hear about your first experience with the cell.
Okay. Um, I saw it in the theaters when it came out, and I thought it was weird and wonderful, and I loved it, and I still do. It took two things I love, those serial killer detective movies, and paired it with this beautiful, grotesque, dark fantasy world. Um, I think it's visually captivating even 25 years later. The imagery, there's stuff in it that's like genuinely terrifying, and yet it's still got this grotesque beauty to it. Strong performances with both Vincent D'Onofrio, who's like several characters in one, and Vince Vaughn, who I always thought I didn't like until I saw this movie. I think he's a really good actor, but just tends to do a lot of comedies and stuff I'm not gonna like. Um, but I love this movie. It's this crazy descent into like a mad wonderland.
Well said. Well said. My first experience with this film was in Yorba Linda, I believe, at a Yorba Linda, California, and I believe it was Yorba Linda anyway. Was a drive-in theater, and a bunch of my buddies were like, "Hey, let's go get tanked at the drive-in." And at that point, I was just like, I just kind of want to go out and actually see what you guys are going to watch. And it was a double feature with The Cell and Final Destination. So, right. So I
Wow.
get there
A weird
and,
pair.
I brought my lounge chair and I'm sitting in the back of my buddy's pickup. Everybody's getting trashed around me and they kept coming close to me. And I'm like, guys, shut the fuck up and get away from me. I'm really focused on what's going on in front of me right now. And it was just a hell of an experience. Oh, fuck. That movie was incredible to see on that largest screen. That night, it was just the stars were aligned and it just came together incredibly. And then after that, had a fantastic time with the first Final Destination film, which was it's still kind of near and dear to me. But yeah, that was my first experience sitting in the back of a pickup truck, just jaw dropped with a bunch of idiots around me. But yeah, the movie has definitely had some imagery and standout scenes that have stuck with me till this day. And I know there's a lot of infamous ones from the film. John, you just brought this up a second ago. I'd love to hear what that scene is for you that really stands out, or even during this viewing, really, stayed with you.
The image that's always stayed for me from the very beginning is like the close up, almost like Kubrickian dead center frame of Jennifer Lopez's face, in like the fantasy, towards the end. But this time around, it was Vincent D'Onofrio in the bathtub leaking water through his teeth.
Ray, how about you?
There's two of them for me.
Cheer
The first time she goes in, the dolls, that scene when she's walking down that hallway with all of those women that are dolls. And I remember I went with friends from high school, and one of my friends from high school brought a buddy that he knew from like childhood. And when that scene came up, that guy stood up and left the theater and he never came back. He said it was too disturbing for him.
What a chicken
Um,
shit.
and then the other one is the curtains room when he starts descending the stairs and the curtains are pulling away, and she's just like wondering what the hell's happening. And you realize the curtains are attached to him as he's walking down these stairs. It was so. I just had never seen anything like that. And I still haven't ever seen anyone do anything like that. That I was like, whoa, what the hell is that? Like, and then when she just turns and then he's just standing there and it's like, what are you doing here? Like, that creeped me out the first time I saw it. And I don't think it's ever left me. It's one of the strongest images in the film for me.
Missy.
I have two as well. The horse separation.
Yeah.
I and I mean, and it's topped off by the fact that you can still see the organs pumping and like the ear twitch and stuff. I I still think that's super fucking cool. And the one Ray was just talking about where the first time we see the Mad King with the purple wings, and then it ends up being the curtains.
Yeah, those that scene is amazing. The curtains, and then even the horse. That's it's interesting how they do the horse because you hear, that sound effect of the horse getting, bisectioned. And so
Mm-hmm.
obviously, it's immediate pain, but it's odd because that scene is bloodless. And that's probably due to, the CGI work and, possibly not being able to get that out just right in time. But it is a very interesting one. For me, in the past, it was when Vaughn first comes in, and much like John said earlier, this up close shot of an entranced Jennifer Lopez. She now has that crown on and the choker around her neck, or it's a posturing piece that she has on her, and it's she's got the crazy red hair and whatnot. That scene always really um, got me, but this time around, again, it is the bathtub scene where she walks in on him and he has his first murder victim, and
Yeah.
he's just that there's just this sorrow about him because I don't think he feels remorse, but he feels awful that he's made a mess instead. So you still see that he's fucked in the head, but it's just that scene where he's standing there, he still has like a filleting knife in hand, and the blood is dripping into a bowl on the floor. It's messy, but and again, not like gory or disgusting. It's odd. It's odd to say that it's done tastefully. And that scene, just that wide shot of that white room or beige, whatever you want, off white, with that scene in front of you. I don't know. There was something about it that always stayed with me. Well, this time around anyway. When I walked out of when I was done with this viewing, that one stayed with me. But it was nice to go back and see some of those older bits. And again, that whole scene with the drapes. The purple drapes remind me of The Simpsons when Flanders screams at the purple drapes in the murder house. If anybody out there in listener land knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, those are my scenes for sure.
The horse bisection, and also the like some of the like there's a lot of images like he throws out in the film that it's art inspired. Like he's an artist himself, and he drew from I said art and current art. Like um that the horse bisection was in part influenced by, I don't know if anyone has heard of Damien Hirst, who was this artist, and he didn't do bisections, but he would take like horses, zebra, and I think there was a shark that he then like put in this like in these displays, and then they would be in art pieces, and it was the concept of confronting morality and death. I mean, mortality and death. And then there's like that scene where Vince Vaughn's character comes awake inside of his mind, and those women are sitting there, and that's again from a classic painting. Like he drew from art that is out there. So a lot of the stuff inside the mindscapes that we keep seeing, he's drawing from art, and I think it enhances his imagery. There's stuff where you're just like, oh, that's from a classic art piece. That looks like a classic art piece. Like he's very smart in the way he creates things, and he in the surreal images that he creates. But yeah, just wanted to add that.
Well said. Well said. No, it's news to me. So yeah, I'm glad to hear it. Ray, again, this is your pick. I would like you to kind of guide us. We'll run around the gamut again in
Sure.
some other topics that you'd love to discuss. Please do.
Sure. Well, one thing I don't know how much you guys got this from a home viewing, and how much you might remember from seeing it in the theater. But having seen it in the theater, one of the things that struck me as I was sitting in it, watching it again, was, and maybe I didn't get it the first time I saw the movie because it was the era, and that was there's parts of the soundtrack, the sound design is so bombastic and jarring and almost attacks you. Like there's these scene changes that happen where we either go into the mind or the mind changes, or especially like that opening when she's walking the hills to get to the boy inside of his mind. And we have that I think it's Middle Eastern music, those horns. And in the theater, it was intense. Like it just was loud. And I was sitting there going, I don't remember this being this loud. And I thought to myself, maybe it was because it was late 90s, early 2000s, when there was still the THX and like everything was super loud. But it just felt like the sound design on this had been made to be jarring at points for you to go whoa, and kind of throw you back in your seat, not just with the images that were happening, but also like, we're going to kick in this music cue, we're going to kick in this sound cue, and it's going to mess with you. Like when he gets her on the ground, and he puts that collar on her, I believe it kicks in there. So I'm just curious if from the home viewing or from however way you rewatch it, if maybe you caught any of that, and if any of you had anything to say about that.
John?
Yeah, I mean, this time around, it's like it became very, very clear, just sort of like, just sort of the interesting stuff that the sound does. And there's stuff that's horrifying in this film, but there's nothing
Yes.
that's gratuitous or over the top at the same time. And it's just like now I really wish I had been able to see it in the theater that you saw it with as well, because it's like I don't know if my experience has just sort of captured kind of the same acoustical all around experience.
Missy?
They use sound well, but unfortunately, the transfer on both the disc I have and on Prime sounded very quiet.
Oh, really?
Like I had to turn my TV up to like 50 to be able
Wow.
to it, that's why I have a disc. That's what I was watching first, and then I went to see if I could watch it streaming if it would be louder, and it wasn't.
Interesting.
Sadly, I have the same to say. I have an Alliance Blu-ray that was released in Canada probably 12, 13 years ago. Um,
Mm.
Sad, it's crazy that Blu-ray is that old now. But yeah, it's one of those things where the cell wasn't released in in America at that time on Blu-ray, and that was the only way to get it. There was a handful of flicks like that for some reason, and the cool
Yeah.
thing was I could walk down to FYE and they would have all these films on, for sale, and they were high dollar, but they had the Canadian import for like less than half the price. Guess what I'm walking away with? But they happen to have the sell, so I brought that home. But much like Missy said, I found myself tweaking the volume on the film repeatedly. There's a lot of
Wow.
whispering in the film and very low tone speaking, and I'm having to raise that up constantly, and then adjust it for those large, scale musical pieces. much like you said in the room with the dolls, when Jennifer Lopez is attacked by the muscle-bound woman, like it gets very loud right there, and culminates with her getting slammed against the wall. But I had to turn it down. Again, it's very overpowering, no pun intended. But yeah, I think I need to invest in the Arrow 4K that just recently came out. I'm assuming
Ooh.
that that is probably A, much more pleasant to watch, and B, more well balanced as far as sound quality goes. I think that might be in a lot of people's benefits to pick that copy up.
Interesting.
John, are there any points you want to make on the film that we can all comment on? I'd love to hear
Uh,
more of what you picked apart during your viewing.
yeah, I mean, there were two films that I feel very confident that Tarsem Singh was inspired by when he went into it. And I recommend people watch both of these films. First, it's a film, it's actually an Armenian film. It's called Color of Pomegranates. It's directed by Sergei Parajanov. And it's like the fall, cell, and Color of Pomegranates, I think, make a trifecta of the most beautiful uses of color on film. The other film I think that he might have been inspired by was Satoshi Kon's Perfect Blue. And I'm curious if Anthony, I know you like that film. Missy, Ray, I'm not sure if you've seen Perfect Blue before, but I'm curious if you see that as well, and if so, if there were like maybe other films that came to mind while you were watching it this time around.
Missy.
Yeah, I know Perfect Blue. I love that movie. Um,
Nice.
this I can see where you're coming from with that. Um, actually, but the thing that kind of stuck for me was the suits they wear, the red body suits.
Hmm.
They look like the armor out of Dracula.
That's because
Yes.
Eiko Ishioka, who won the Academy Award for Dracula, did the costumes for the cell.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, now she rocks. I mean, sometimes, it's like it's cliche when people say the costume is a character in the film. With Iko Ishioka, it is.
Okay. Yeah, those things look really unique and it was cool in Dracula and it caught my eye again.
Right.
I can see the parody with Perfect Blue. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with colored pomegranates, but I'm gonna have to look that up because I enjoy world cinema and that sounds like something interesting.
It's so
Um,
good.
I'm really gonna have to research where to find that. But I can definitely see the parody with Perfect Blue. That's a really good. That's a really good film. It really is. It's fantastic. Um, yeah, I think Missy and I probably both know it the same way. Like, was it a year or so ago, Missy, or a couple of years that Joe Bob did an episode with it?
Yeah, yeah, it was
Yeah,
maybe 2 seasons ago that he
yeah.
did it. He did
It's
it
a
on his
good film.
anime night.
Yes. Yeah, that was a good episode. Yeah, that's a great movie. I mean, I'd heard about it and never seen it. The other film that always comes to mind when I watch this is Dreamscape from the 80s.
Mm.
I think it's
I
like
can see that.
86, 84. It's with Dennis Quaid. It's it's somewhat similar in the fact that it's about this guy who gets hired by the military, not a military, by a government, by a research I'm sorry, a researcher, and they're developing this technology where they go into other people's dreams and help them with nightmares. And so it has a lot of nightmare imagery in it, and the government, it gets involved because they want to use it, they want to weaponize it because it's very similar to the concept of Nightmare on Elm Street. If you die in your dream, you'll die for real. So they want to use it to create agents to send into people's dreams. But it just has this, it's a sci-fi movie mostly, but it has these moments that are just terrifying. Like there's a snake man in it that's fucking dream fuel. And I remember seeing it as a kid. So um Yeah, for sure. That's another film that like I feel like I would if I were putting together a double feature, I'd pair with this film and be like, watch these two together. This will work great for you. Um, yeah, I can definitely see the parody with Perfect Blue. That's a great film. Like, and just the way that it's has this quality of like she is dealing with her own mind and walking and like experiencing it in real time though in reality.
It would pair really well with Come True as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mm.
nice, nice. That's a good one too. That's a good ass movie
I am
too.
still kicking myself in the ass for not seeing that theatrically or even seeing the film that year. I just saw that for the first time probably 6 months ago.
Really?
And I told Sean, I go, had I seen that year when it came out, it probably would have been my number one.
Hmm.
Uh, the movie, again, touching on Perfect Blue, yeah, definitely, I could see those similarities and between the this film and the other. But the here's the odd duck that I tend to see similarities between. Shoot me down if I'm wrong. The Lawnmower Man series.
You are not wrong.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I could see
same
that
same
definitely.
thing. You wear your magic underwear, and eventually being drawn into like Job's head, where you have to kind of figure him out and defeat him as he's become all powerful. Per the end of what the first film. Uh, but yeah, it's one of those things where watching this film, it took me back to that, and of course Tron. Everything comes back to Tron. You go under, you stay under. But yeah, there's all these great bits of imagery that you could tell are borrowed. Maybe not even borrowed, maybe playfully transplanted. But I like when like there's a couple of scenes that are inserted that I like D'Onofrio when he first comes in. He's well, hang on. D'Onofrio he does the big fall through, right? Doesn't he? And then I think he ends up landing in that room that looks very much like the Losing My Religion video set, if I'm not wrong. Like you could totally see the window and the wood paneled wall, and the colors are pretty much the same.
Hmm.
Um, the end of the film when there's the whole Virgin Mary or angel
Yes.
angel of mercy. There's that whole thing on the wall where there's the it looks like is it lotus leaves on the back. And it's cool because that design is used again in as a face mask in the fall, and also the insignia from the machines that he uses was also turned into another sort of quasi face mask that was used later in the fall as well. Um, John, you hit the nail on the head when you said that this is the trial run for what the fall was to become. Um, the it's just really insane to watch it go from whatever's happening in the outside world. It's almost hard to buy that opposed to what you get in this fantasy world. It almost feels just like it shouldn't even be in the film. But I get everything has to have its driving force, etc., especially when it's grounded in reality. But the space in between reality and fantasy, the gap is so huge. It just
Yeah.
almost doesn't make sense bouncing back and forth. And of course, that's probably the film's intention to kind of boggle the mind. Um, and I like films that do that, where they keep me on my toes and constantly guessing where I'm going and what's going to happen next. Um,
I think that's part of it. And I think part of it is also that intention that he's driving the film towards, which is at the end, there's that conversation where they're talking about, oh, well, they say it was a drug-induced hallucination, that it was just good old-fashioned detective work that got me to the answer that I needed to find this girl and to stop him, or rescue the girl, rather. Um, and he can't confirm it was real, and she can't confirm it was real. So I think that wide gulf kind of enhances that point of like, is the like, because I think that I feel like the ending kind of puts us, especially in the way that he figures it out, because is I think it does do something to us where it makes us question, like, well, was he going to get to that answer anyway? Because he had been in that room, he had been in that basement, he had seen the machinery, he'd even like seen the carver symbols on the tables, on the chains and stuff. So was he going to come to that, or was it that he was, because he, once he was inside of his mind and he saw the fantasy image of the girl drown uh in the tank and then match the symbols, that's how he came to it. Like, I feel like there's a little bit of the film going like, well, what do you choose to believe? Like, do you choose to believe that everything that she went through, everything that happened inside the mind was real? Or do you choose to believe that it was all just some fantasy that they lived through inside their heads and now, or a dream, and now they have its reality, and it just came to him by chance, like, or through, oh, like he says, through old-fashioned detective work. um I feel like it does create a little bit of that to us. So I think that's a possibility for that happening in this film.
And it's odd as
But
well because you don't know whether or not they're under the use of like a psychotropic, because you do see that they have like an
Yeah,
IV attached to them. They never really say what it is.
yeah,
I mean, we're left to assume that it's, something to just keep you asleep, but I kind of don't buy that either. But I mean, of course, the adventurist in me wants to think that all of this happened and that it was true. Um,
There are some subtle Easter eggs, I'm sure. I mean, when you look at the kind of Gattaca like modern building that they're doing all the experiments in, and just sort of like the bird's eye shots, that we get of everyone, you do kind of get the sense that there might be some more Easter eggs that kind of blur the two worlds together.
yes, absolutely.
It'd be
Yeah, for
but
interesting.
it
sure.
It'd be interesting to go back and rewatch and see if you can how many like little details you can spot, because I'm sure they're there. I'm just like not seeing them.
and on that note, guys, we're taking a break to go rewatch the film. We'll be right back. No, but I concur. I want to go back and see what else I missed, because, like you said, or like I mentioned earlier, there's bits that I noticed that are used in later films that I would probably pick up
Like
on more.
like the desert at the beginning
Absolutely.
shows up in the fall, like in a major way.
Of course, and even its usage of like the long flowing fabric in the desert, kind of
Yeah.
like they did with the large bloodstained flag that they did in the fall. It's
Yes.
fantastic, fantastic.
But that's just the kind of beautiful imagery he creates. That's the stuff where you're just like, how do you get there? Like, I don't know how you get to the, like, where you see a big desert scape like that, and you go, what if I just put some trees here? Um,
Or Boys to Men.
just just a few trees and a log, and trust me, it'll look beautiful. And then you see it, and you're
You're
like,
making it
damn.
sound like Bob Ross.
I mean, in a way, I mean, he is an artist. He is painting with the camera. So, I mean, yeah, in a way, he is. I mean, he is creating a visual style that like is distinctly his. So, absolutely.
There is a scene in this film that is gut wrenching, and there's a band that I like called Cannibal Corpse, and they've got a little track called Intestinal Crank. Missy, why don't you walk us through that scene?
So good.
okay. But first, what I was gonna say is, I think the point of the movie is it doesn't matter if it's real. Your mind makes it real. Like
I
they
concur.
experienced it regardless, whether it was in the
Yes.
real world or not. But no, when Vince Vaughn goes in, we we get this scene where he is looking for Catherine because she's stuck inside the dream, and the Vincent D'Onofrio Mad King captures him and hooks him up to this crank where he like makes an incision in his stomach and starts pulling out pieces of intestines and wraps it around it and cranks it. And that shit looks gnarly as hell.
Yes.
And it's in like
um,
giddy delight. You watch, you see his, the pageantry of his costuming, and he brings out all his tools, and just this the really interesting look on his face. It's just this giddy glee on top of that
Yeah.
really, really makes that scene disturbing as all hell. But here's the interesting part about it is, like John said earlier, it's not overly grotesque. It
No.
kind of looks like a red string being yanked out. You know what it is, and
mhm,
Yeah.
but it's again one of those things that's like, also like Ray said, how it's life imitating art or fantasy imitating art at this point, because you see
Yeah.
the painting later towards the end of the film of that exact scenario.
mhm,
But that scene is kind of like one for genre lovers that will talk about this movie in depth, about like they love that scene. I myself love that
mhm.
scene.
It looks
It's not
great.
the
Yeah.
movie to me, but it's fucking pretty standout
Mhm,
and gruesome at times.
It is. And the sound design again in that scene is crazy because everything with him and everything with Catherine is muted. Like he's screaming in pain and he's yelling out to Catherine and he tells her that story. He's like, I don't want to do this to you, but I have to wake you up. You had a little brother. He died terribly in a car accident, but you hear it muted. The only thing that comes through clear is Carl and or God King and him like in his gleeful delight and like naughty worm and he's like mocking him and it comes through so clear. Whereas everything that they're saying is and you can hear it, but it's so intentional that like he is he's in control. It's what he wants, and like he can tamp down what he doesn't want. Um, that it's so neat in that scene. Like I love that intentionalness of the sound design and how we hear things in that moment. That's one of those scenes that like I think, yeah, you're right. I mean, it is generally it's a horror scene. Like it's rough.
see, that's
Uh,
not the scene that gets under my skin though. The image that creeps me out is the three screaming frozen women on the beach,
Oh,
screaming at the sky. It makes me uber uncomfortable.
really? Interesting.
it is
The
definitely
gory
bizarre.
shit never creeps me out. I'm always staring, like looking really closely, trying to see how they did it. But it's like certain imagery, and they look like faceless screaming dolls, and I don't like it.
I
Like I
wanted to
like
take.
that it
Oh,
creeps
go
me
ahead.
out, but
Yeah. I wanted to take a minute to reflect on some of the acting in the film. John, are there any high notes in there that you would say are, above and beyond? Um,
Well, if I can add one thing, that actually leads to a question I had for everybody else here, and
okay.
that is, I'll just ask my question, and then I'll let John go, and then when I get to my point, I'll talk about it. But um, watching it, it was obviously Jennifer Lopez was coming up in her career. She had already done Selena. She was kind of gaining notoriety. Vince Vaughn, I think, was hot off of Swingers, and um yet we have D'Onofrio, who's consummate character actor. With that cast, do you feel like the people that were acting in it are necessary, or that some people weren't as important or made the film for you as much as some others?
I think the question you're asking is like if it was like if it wasn't Vaughn and J Lo and it was like a couple of unknown lower budget uh lower tier performers like enacting the same script with the same visual design, would we like it better?
Or
Is that
even
is that
this
is that,
as much, or even as much.
or as much? um I don't know about better, but I'd say about the same. I think out of everybody, I think the strongest performance is D'Onofrio.
I absolutely agree.
How about you, Missy?
Um, I could Jennifer Lopez is fine. I have no attachment to her, and she could easily be interchanged with some other
What?
actress for me, and I wouldn't care. Like, I think D'Onofrio was fantastic, and I, I mean, the person I really enjoyed watching was Vince Vaughn. Um, I think one of my favorite interactions is in the movie is him having a conversation with Catherine, where he's talking about that he's sure that somebody could survive, even worse abuse than Gish, the person he was talking about,
Oh,
a
yes,
serial
yes.
killer, and still end up being a good person, and he's sure about it, and it's not said. I think it. I mean, I just read it this way. It was just implied by his mannerisms and whatnot that I think he's so sure because it happened to him that he was abused and decided to try to help people instead. And that was all through like it's never clearly stated. It's just the read I got on it, and I think it's because I thought he had an incredible performance. But Jennifer Lopez was she didn't bother me. She was fine, but she could have been anyone, and I wouldn't have cared.
Uh, D'Onofrio, I thought, stole the show. I thought he was outstanding. Vaughn did okay as, just playing it straight. I was kind of waiting for him to like go into the wacky world, start cracking jokes, and I'm really glad that that didn't happen. Um, that's not to say I don't like other things that I've seen him in. Freaky is just ridiculous and over the top, and his acting in that movie's insane, and I love it. The guy
Me
does
too.
have chops. He should never have played Norman Bates. He should have turned that shit down immediately.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, again, Jennifer Lopez kind of seemed like the eye candy to the film. She's a focal piece, just because we have these, uh, we have this grand costuming, and she looks great in it. And but I do feel that her role could have been interchangeable with any actress of the day at that point. Um, that's not to say that she didn't do well, but let's look at her track record. It's not good. The one person I thought kind of didn't belong in the film was Jake Weber, and that's the guy that played Vaughn's partner. And his time to shine came a little later when they did the Dawn of the Dead remake. He was a great central figure in that movie. I think he showed his chops off for what that movie was, but I don't think that this is where he belonged. I think around this point he had done a Wendigo from Fessenden also.
Oh, yes.
So he'd been floating around the genre for a little bit, but I just felt like his character was just underdeveloped and kind of not necessary. But again, D'Onofrio, fuck, to see him at all stages, that you know scene where he's struggling nude coming out of the bathtub, and you see all the piercings on his back. There's a lot of physical acting that goes on in that, and he's just incredible. And just all the way down his career, that movie he did with Jenny Lynch, Chained, fucking outstanding. The guy still has it. He's incredible. Um, goddamn, man. Ray,
Let me add to that so that you're right. I mean, I guess I accidentally led the question a little bit on the jury on that one a little bit there, John, but or the defendant. But yeah, I sat there watching it, and I was thinking to myself like, I don't know, like, because it's funny. It didn't strike me when I was younger, but sitting there watching it, I remembered the fact that the poster is just her face, and it's her in that fantasy image that when he makes her his queen inside of his mind. And I thought to myself, this, this movie doesn't need her. Like, it's I didn't mean to slam her. she looks attractive enough and she does a good
Absolutely.
enough job. But I sat there thinking to myself, if this was somebody else, this would be just as good. And I didn't feel that way about like Vaughn as much. And you're right, Missy. I think that I never caught that before, but sitting there and him saying that line, and like there's something about the way he says it that implies that he went through some kind of abuse and he's came out the other side and is now this like hero for the abuse. But D'Onofrio, man, that guy, he is one of those actors that when you say his name sometimes to people, they're like, I'm not sure who and you're like, okay, Gomer Pyle. Or is it Gomer Pyle that he gets called in Full
Yeah,
Metal Jacket? Yeah,
yeah,
Gomer Pyle, Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
Or the guy who's wearing the Edgar suit in Men in Black in Men in Black, or the serial killer in the cell, or Kingpin, and they go, "Oh, that guy, yeah, he's fantastic," because he just sinks into roles, like he doesn't stand out, and like you don't know, like that's D'Onofrio acting because every time he sinks into a role, he's that character, and he does it in this film too. He does a great job of it in this film. Like, um, and he does this thing where you're right. He is this like fearsome, terrible God King inside of his own mind, but then he's like this serial killer who's oddly vulnerable and sad and tragic. And he just has a like they never made a poster that included like some image of him as the God King inside of his mind, and I said was J Lo. But um, yeah, she's okay, but I just felt like I could have been watching like anyone from that era, any other actress, and like it would have been fine because it feels so much more about him in this film. Like he's just so grand, and he just does such a good job. It steals the show.
Yeah, speaking to like the character's trauma, that scene where J-Lo is shoved into a closet and forced to watch the young boy be just brutalized by his
Yeah.
father, his stepfather, and then it's bad enough he's getting beaten with the belt, and then as the guy and being called slurs and all this stuff, and then you see the dad walk away and go, "How can I make this worse? Oh, there's a hot iron," and takes it to the kid, and it is just horrendous to watch. And these are all little bits that keep you engaged in the film and really draw you into the character development. The only thing that I didn't agree with was that info dump about J-Lo's brother. It's like, why are we getting this now instead of, towards the beginning of the film so we could see some purpose in her?
That is a little odd, isn't it?
It's bizarre.
Because otherwise, like her character is formulated in such a way that she doesn't seem to exist as someone with a past. Like, um, Vaughn's character is obviously like kind of guarded and is protecting himself, and especially in the job he does. So we understand it, and like even the thing he kind of gives away, he does so by accident. So like that moment is a little bit odd. Like it's like it, you're right that how come there isn't something that comes up earlier in the film? How come there isn't some more a little bit more background of who she is and where she comes from? And there is the thing of like we get the other doctors talk like the experiment two people who run the experiment info dumping to other characters about her, and you're like, okay, that's interesting. Like it doesn't happen with her organically.
You know where that would have worked is when she's trying to convince the parents of her patient from taking her away. Like that would have
Yeah,
been the spot where you drop that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
yeah, this is
Yeah.
exactly,
why
exactly.
I want to do this. Give her some driving force. With Vaughn, he's a cop. That's the driving force. I have to solve the crime to whatever means. Um, we're gonna start coming to a close here. John, are there any last thoughts about the film or anything else that you want to bring up before we go? We love that wisdom of yours, man. So if you want to drop some more knowledge on us, we would love it.
Yeah, Ray, thanks for recommending this one. I had a good time with this one. I give it like a solid B plus. It's just definitely something to watch, if for nothing else, to like really kind of see like the pieces that would eventually become the fall get incubated, and also some, great, elements of horror that we get from just sort of a mad surrealist.
Agreed. And John, can you give us the name, the proper name of that? I'm sorry, the name that had pomegranate in the title, just so
Yeah,
the listeners can have that.
Yeah, Sergei Parajanov, Color of Pomegranates,
Okay.
and it's from 1968. And I say this one because of the colors, but also because of the use of masks in The
Ooh,
Cell and in Color of Pomegranates are very similar.
awesome. I definitely need to add that to my watch list. I got to track that down. Missy, any final thoughts on the film?
No, just I'm glad you picked it, Ray. I haven't rewatched it in a while, and it was fun to revisit it.
Ray, this was your pick, man. Take it on home.
Well, I appreciate that everyone enjoyed themselves. That's always kind of part of my goal when I make a pick. It's not just because it's something I want to talk about. It's because I think I hope it's something that's enjoyable. I hope it's something that if it's something that's popular enough, something that brings back memories and gives you an opportunity to revisit something and go, this is not this. I enjoyed this. Because it does have those elements. Like it's a bit of a genre defining film, and it to me it's one of those films that stands out that like I said, because I didn't grow up like watching traditional horror, that I saw and I was like, oh wow, that's creepy. And then I realized later that the part of the reason that I probably saw it was because I didn't think it was horror, and so because of that I was like, oh okay, let's check this out, and then afterward was like, whoa. So again, I'm just glad everybody enjoyed themselves.
Yeah, and again from me, thank you for picking this one. Anytime anybody's covering Tarsem it's a feat in itself, and thank you for putting us to the task, believing in us to be able to stand up for that and be able to do it. Um, yeah, this film it's always been one of those flicks that has marked me, and like I said, just that experience I had theatrically was just something I'll never forget for sure. It was an incredible thing. Um, y'all go out there, support Arrow, and buy that 4K. I am probably going to do the same. But yeah, so across the board, everybody loves it. You'll love it too. You know, go back and revisit that catalog. You're going to love what you see, what you find. And for the Horror Vision presents Elements of Horror, I am Amityville Anthony.
And I'm John.
I'm Missy.
And I'm Ray.
Stay scared.
Hapless teenagers beset by demons in the woods. A strange new drug that turns art into murder. A can't beat a deal on a new house with a horrifying past. A video game that might usher in the apocalypse. From the demented mind of Sean C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires, Shadow Play, and Murder Virus comes Volume 4, collecting Baker's no sleep work along with several never-before-published short stories. This 99-cent volume also includes the opening chapter of the author's forthcoming teenage giallo novel, Black Gloves and Broken Hearts, due out later this year.